We are live. Is this thing on? Check, check. I think this is on. Let's make sure that the audio, as we are live, that's the one thing you can't test audio until you're actually live. So, can you guys hear me? Yes, it's on. Okay, good. We're good. Good morning, Miracle Mavens from all around the world. I've been watching your hundreds of comments streaming in the side, which is great. And we are not going to read the comments right now because I want to dive right into this week. I will take a few minutes to, first, I want to acknowledge you for wherever you are on your miracle journey. And if you're just joining us for your first live call, welcome. If you're watching this on the recording, wherever you're at on your journey, your miracle equation journey, your miracle May, your journey to being a miracle maven, your journey to achieving your first mission, to creating tangible, measurable miracles, wherever you are on your journey, I want you to embrace that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, to learn what you need to learn, to become the person that you need to be, to create everything that you want for your life. And I want to acknowledge you for being here right now. You are, most of us, we're busy people. You're a busy person. Your life is valuable and you could be doing many things right now. And the fact that you are taking time out of your busy schedule to be here, to invest in yourself, to invest in your personal and professional development, I admire you for that, right? We are kindred spirits in that way. So thank you for being here. Thank you for playing full out and working on yourself and your goals and your mission. And a bonus acknowledgement, by the way, for those of you that have been posting in the Facebook group, right? The Miracle Equation, Miracle Mavens Facebook group. If you haven't joined that yet, go join it on Facebook. And for those of you that have been participating, it's been really great to see. You know, I've seen you sharing your mission, sharing your mantra, posting your various affirmations, asking for help, right? Yeah, I see so many of you being vulnerable and like, I need help. Can you please help me? Somebody in the group, and you guys are all just engaging and supporting each other. It's been really, really great to see. I also want to acknowledge those of you that have been leaving comments in the Miracle Equation membership portal, where all of the live training replays are, and the assignments and the downloads. Everything is in that portal at all times. And the link is, and I've sent the link a couple times to log into your portal. And those that are leaving comments, I'm reading all the comments. I'm loving them. Thank you for that. Today, this is week 3 of 6 for the Miracle Equation implementation training. Today's topic, right? You ready to write this down? Hopefully you have a notebook, taking some notes. Don't count on your memory, right? If it's anything like mine, you don't want to count on that for all of your growth to be stored up here. I like to have it in writing. But today's topic is integrating the miracle equation into your miracle mornings. Integrating the miracle equation into your miracle mornings and combining personal development with goal achievement. And I'll tell you, that question has come in on the mission forums. And I think I mentioned to you guys that you're shaping your training. You are shaping this training as we go on. That's one of the benefits of being part of the live training, and not even just the live training, even if you're part of the replay training, but you guys are able to fill out the evaluation forms, ask questions, and I've been reading hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments and questions, and so that's what we're going to focus on today: is how to integrate the miracle equation into your miracle mornings and combine personal development and goal achievement. And I'm going to give you guys, it's basically going to be an advanced miracle morning training, which, I mean, gosh, that's been asked for years, and you're finally going to get it today. So I'm excited for this training. And as far as the evaluation forms and feedback, I have really enjoyed reading through all of your comments in the evaluation form. I want to say thank you to those of you that have taken the time to complete the evaluation form, and it's most of you, which is great. Each and every week, the link is in the membership site. The link is typically in the email, I believe, that we send to you. And it's extremely valuable for me to see your feedback and what your biggest takeaways are. And then also there's a lot of positive feedback and there's a lot of critical feedback, right? Well, not a lot of critical feedback, but there's enough. It's good. It's really valuable for me to see what your biggest takeaways are for the majority of you. And by the way, this last week, as far as positive feedback, other than general positive feedback, right? I've got a lot of, hey, this course is great. I'm learning a ton. This is really helping me. I'm seeing a lot of that in the evaluation forms, which, makes me so happy to see that you're getting so much value. And the biggest takeaway from our last call was really about the power of the process, and specifically about releasing emotional attachment to your short-term results while you stay committed to the long-term process, right? So releasing the emotional attachment of how, if you have a bad day or something doesn't go as planned, how do you just let that go? You can't control those short-term results once they've happened, and that's part of becoming emotionally invincible. But you let those go and you release the emotional attachment to your short-term results, and you just stay committed to the long-term process, realizing that long-term process will move your goals, your success, from possible to inevitable. As far as the critical feedback goes, talking too fast is a big one. So I'm going to work on slowing down for you. I'm sure you'll see me get excited and speed up, and then I'll realize it and pull back. So I'm going to work on pacing myself a little bit better. Going off on tangents was another one of the critical feedback pieces that I saw a few times. So I'm going to work on keeping in my lane for you guys. And then another one was taking too long to get into the training. So right now we're at 5 minutes. And on that note, again, taking too long to get in the training. Some of you said, hey, I timed you and it was like 20 minutes till we got into the new content and this and that. And, there's some various comments around that. So because of that, we're going to dive right in today. In fact, what we're going to do is try something kind of new. Normally, I would do a recap right now of week 1 training and your week 2 training. And I am a huge believer, as you probably know, in the value of repetition, right? If we learn an idea once, we're exposed to it. Each additional time we learn an idea and learn it in a different way, from a different angle, with a different story, with a new example, we deepen our learning. And it's not about learning new things, it's about living what you learn. Right? It's not about more information, it's about methods for implementation. And us developing our own methods for implementation come through learning things repeatedly until new light bulbs fire, right? New neural pathways are connected in our brain around information, and more importantly, not the information, but how we can implement, how we can apply the information. So I'm a big believer in repetition, but I'm going to honor the request from some of you that said, hey, let's just dive into the training. I'm going to save the recaps for the end. So at the end of today's training, I will do a recap of week 1, week 2, and week 3 and how they all fit together. So hopefully you appreciate that. All right. So I will say, here's a real quick high level, like 1 to 2 sentence recap of so far what we've gone through. Week 1 was deciding on your first mission, right? It was looking at all of your goals and getting clear of every goal you have that you could divide your attention equally to and not make a lot of progress on each one potentially. Get clear on what is the single most important goal, your mission, that you will focus on first before you get to the other goals, right? And this is a logistical thing where in your schedule on any given day, you invest time in your process that will move you toward your single most important, most beneficial goal, your mission, and then you work on all the other goals. And by doing that, you prioritize and you develop the ability to focus and other characteristics that impact all of your goals in a positive way, but it's by getting clear and focusing first and foremost on your primary goal, your mission. And you might remember the story I told about in 2005. My mission was to double my sales, double my income. And that year, because I focused on the mission first every day, I ended up getting in the best shape of my life, meeting my wife, writing my first book, launching my coaching business, launching my speaking career, right? On and on. It was because of the mission focus that everything else worked itself out. And week 2, we talked about this last week, discovering the power of your process. Every result, every goal we have in our life is preceded by a process, and it's about identifying what is your process that if you commit to it over an extended period of time, your success is inevitable. It's only a matter of time before you achieve what you want, and then releasing your emotional attachment along the way. So it's a high-level overview of what we've covered so far. I'm going to dive a little deeper into each of those weeks and break down the individual lessons from each week at the end of the training today. But to honor those of you that were like, let's just dive in, we're doing that today. So today we're going to talk about integrating the Miracle Morning with the Miracle Equation, or in terms of conceptually what that's about, is integrating your personal development practice with your goal achievement process. So I would imagine that probably 90+% of you found me and my work and the Miracle Equation through the Miracle Morning. And then 10% of you, give or take, I don't know the exact number, are new to the miracle morning because you found the miracle equation before you found the miracle morning. And maybe you haven't never even read the miracle morning. You don't practice the miracle morning. So with that, I'm not going to go into a lot, though, on what the miracle morning is, but a real quick 60-second overview. The premise of the miracle morning is based on the idea that your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development. So if you're measuring your success on a scale of 1 to 10, if we are measuring our success, we all want level 10, right? Human nature is to want to fulfill our potential, to aspire to be as good as we can be and make our lives as good as they can be in each area of our lives. We want level 10 relationships, level 10 health, level 10 happiness, level 10 if you're a parent, right? You want to be a level 10 parent. We want to be level 10 in each role in our lives, and then we want level 10 success in every area. We want level 10 financial success and relational success in every area of our lives. We want level 10. The premise of the miracle morning is you've got to dedicate time each day to become a level 10 person so that level 10 success is what you deserve. And when I say deserve, I'm not talking about an inherent deserving as a human being. I'm saying if you want to be, if you were a basketball player and you wanted to win the championship, well, you have to develop yourself into a level 10 player so that you deserve to achieve the success that you want in the area of your life that you're working on. And this is true for all of us. If you want a level 10 relationship, don't think that you just deserve it because you're a human. That's enlightened entitlement. That's a different conversation around deserving. But beyond that, consider that if you've never read a book on how to be a great spouse or a great significant other, what makes you think you deserve that great relationship? And one of my favorite sentiments around having a great relationship, and this is so universal, this quote, if you will, this philosophy. I once heard, I forgot where I was at. I was listening to a relationship expert, an author, and they said, the secret, if you want to have the relationship of your dreams, if you want to find the person you were meant to be with and spend the rest of your life in bliss, in harmony, they said it's not about finding the right person, it's about becoming the right person. So if you want to have an amazing marriage or relationship, right, it's about becoming the type of person with the qualities, the characteristics, the knowledge, the communication skills, so on and so forth, the empathy, right, developing all of these components of you that then you will attract an amazing person into your life because you have become an amazing partner. So now you're going to attract an amazing partner. And again, that philosophy is true in every area of life. So the miracle morning is the daily personal development practice that enables you to start each day by becoming a better version of the person that you were the day before when you went to bed. And if you do that every day, as you get better, of course, you become more capable, more deserving, and your life and your level of success tends to parallel the person that you have become. And it goes back to, week one, we talked about the be, do, have model. First, you have to become the person that you need to be in terms of all of the internal qualities and characteristics. That's what the miracle morning does for you. It's a practice to become that person. And then you have to do the things that will produce the measurable, meaningful, tangible results that you want into your life. And that is what the miracle equation is, right? What do you have to do? You have to maintain unwavering faith, and you have to maintain extraordinary effort. And you have to do both of those over an extended period of time. That is the life that you've always wanted. And most people, when they think of have, you think of material things like, yeah, I'll have money, I'll have success, I'll have recognition, I'll have significance. Some of the, yes, but it's really about having what we really want, which is peace of mind, which is a deep sense of fulfillment, which is a life that is lived on purpose, where we wake up every day and we live according to our purpose, not reactive, but proactive and purposeful. So what we want to have in our life isn't just the material stuff that we're after. And that, I'm not discounting that. I'm not saying there's not value in that. But if you think about it, and I love celebrities are a great example where you see a lot of people that achieve really high levels of success. They become millionaires or billionaires, or they achieve the career success. They become a CEO or a famous movie star, but then you see many people, and they think that that's what they want. They think, well, what I want to have is I want to achieve my dream of being a singer or an actress or a CEO or a mom or whatever, right? They think that's what I want to have. I want to have the things that are tangible and measurable. But ultimately, everything we want to have or we think we want to have in our outer world, we want to have because of how we think it will impact our inner world. Once I have it, then I'll be happy. Once I have it, then I'll feel good about myself. Once I have it, I'll feel worthy of love. Once I have these things, then I'll feel like I've made it, so to speak. And we see with so many folks that turn to drugs or alcohol or other vices because happiness, joy, those things aren't found in anything outside of ourselves. Not that you can't enjoy material success, but ultimately it's about having a life of meaning. And that's what we're after. So, with all of that, diving into the miracle morning, we're going to go into the savers today and how to integrate the miracle equation into the savers. And I'm going to give you some advanced training on the savers, which I'm trying to think if I've given this advanced training anywhere. I'm not sure that I have. And considering I'm always learning and evolving, even if I've given a version of this somewhere, so I'm not sure if I have. There's no miracle morning training like this, right? Like that's something that doing a live miracle morning training is something I've thought about for years. Haven't done it. We may do it someday, but you're kind of getting an advanced version of that advanced training right now. So the Miracle Morning, as most of you know, is made up of 6 practices, the Savers, SAVERS. And we're going to dive into all 6 of these now. And I'm going to give you at least one, if not more, strategies to take each practice to the next level and to integrate the miracle equation into each practice. So the S in Savers is for silence. Most of you know that. And when it comes to silence, here's what you want to think about. Usually when I'm training, when I'm doing any kind of training or coaching or consulting, we typically start by looking at the problem before we offer the solution. Because the more clear you are on the problem, the more clear you are on what the problem is, what is causing the problem, what the negative or detrimental effects of the problem are, having clarity on that piece around the problem, that gives you more clarity, if you will, to get clear on a solution, right? So if we look at what the problem is with how most people start their day, they don't start the day in silence, and especially not what I would call peaceful, purposeful silence. Most people start their day reactive, right? And usually it's because they wait until the last minute to wake up. And when you start your day reactive, you also start your day typically stressed. And when you start your day stressed, that means your cortisol levels, right? The stress hormone, your cortisol levels are increased. And so most people jump out of bed, frenetic, rushing around, and they literally start with heightened cortisol levels. When you have heightened cortisol levels, your ability to think clearly, literally, I'm trying to think of what book it was. It's been so many years, but there was a book that showed this study of how as your cortisol level increases, your intellect decreases, like literally your intelligence. You get dumber when you get stressed out. And stress shows up in all sorts of different ways, right? Stress can show up your ability to think clearly, to make intelligent decisions, and to take intelligent actions. All of that decreases. So starting our day reactive and stressed out with heightened cortisol levels, not what we want. So what silence enables you to do is it enables you to start your day by lowering your cortisol levels or never letting them even getting off the ground, right? You roll out of bed and you walk into your miracle morning space and you sit down and you do your meditation or you do your prayer or you do both. And it can be as little as 1 minute, right? In the miracle morning, there's the 6-minute miracle morning, which is doing 1 minute for each of these 6 practices that we're covering today. Or most people do, 5 to 10 minutes of each. Some do a little more, some do a little less. Some do, you can customize it completely where you can do 5 minutes of silence, for example, and then do 20 minutes of reading, and then do 5 minutes of affirmations, and then do 20 minutes of exercise, right? You can really customize it to fit your schedule, to fit your lifestyle, and to fit your needs. if you are someone who is already very low stress and already has heightened clarity, and if you already have a lot of the benefits that you might generate from a practice of daily silence, of meditation and or prayer, you may not need to spend as much time. If you're someone that operates in a very stressful, paradigm, if you're often very reactive, you may need more time in silence. And of course, as you spend more time in silence and you do that daily, you do it consistently over an extended period of time, you will find that your cortisol levels will lower. Your stress levels will lower. Your baseline. We all have a baseline of stress that we tend to operate at. We have a baseline of happiness that we tend to operate at. Pretty much most emotions, we have kind of a baseline, right? Someone who's angry, like that, they have a baseline that's higher than someone who is not very angry. So whatever your baseline is, through daily, purposeful, practical silence, peaceful, purposeful silence, you'll lower that baseline. And then you won't necessarily need, now you might want to still spend your time in meditation, for an hour a day or 10 minutes a day or whatever it is for you. But typically over an extended period of time, you'll literally become a different person. You're going to rewire the connections in your brain, and you're not going to necessarily need the same amount of time invested in any given practice once you've reconditioned yourself through that practice. So when it comes to silence, and when it comes to the miracle equation and integrating it into your meditation or your prayer practice, here's a couple tips. Number one, obviously, I recorded the miracle equation guided meditation for you. So that's a great place to start, right? That's a 20-minute meditation. And I saw there was one comment in the evaluation form that said, hey, can we get a new version that doesn't have that has the intro separate from the meditation? And I may get to that, but what I would encourage you to do is, I know that there's like a 3-minute or 4-minute intro or whatever it is. I'm not sure. I don't remember the exact amount of minutes it is, but I would just say, not that hard. I would just find out where the start of the meditation is after the intro. If you don't want to listen to the intro again, and just, when you open your meditation, just fast forward to 4 minutes and start there. So I would invite everybody to consider doing that if you want to skip that intro. But that's one avenue, right? You can start with the miracle equation guided meditation. And what I did with that is I literally thought about, okay, what are the components of the miracle equation that people need to be really, after you've read the book and you close the book, you tend to forget a lot of what you read, right? We can only remember so much in our conscious brain. So the meditation is designed to remind you and keep you conscious and aware and present to the key lessons of the miracle equation book that you want to keep reminding yourself of, reinforcing and implementing over time, right? So that's what the meditation is designed to do. Now, you don't have to do it every day, and you might not have the 20 minutes or so that that the meditation is a duration of 20 plus minutes. You might not have that time every day. So in that case, here's what I would encourage you to do. When it comes to the miracle equation, I would pull out your miracle mantra, right? And or any affirmations related to the miracle equation. I would read those. Okay, this is one of my favorite ways to combine affirmations and meditation. And I would read an affirmation, read your mantra, and then close your eyes. And I would just repeat your mantra. So this is an example of like I'm going to give you the other extreme of, instead of doing a 20-minute meditation or longer, here's a 1-minute way to integrate the miracle. Read your miracle mantra, close your eyes and repeat it to yourself. You can either mumble it out loud, say it out loud, or just silently to yourself over and over. Set a timer for 1 minute and repeat it over and over and over for 1 minute. Now, the point here is quality, not quantity, meaning don't run through it over and over and over just to run through it faster and faster and faster. I would repeat your mantra, and then I would even sit with it. So instead of repeating it and then repeating it again, just like back to back to back, I would repeat it, and then I would sit with it for a few seconds. A couple options. You could literally read it once and then close your eyes and feel the truth of the mantra. Feel the commitment that you are reinforcing in your miracle mantra. Feel what it feels like to have that unwavering faith and to really feel a sense of faith or certainty that you are going to reach that mission, that you are going to achieve that mission. Another way so that's one way to do it, is just read it once and then feel it, sit with that mantra for 60 seconds or as long as you want. Another way to do it is, as I kind of started to talk about, repeat it over and over and over again. But again, quality over quantity. Don't try to repeat it quickly. Repeat it, sit with it for a few seconds, repeat it again, sit with it. And the point is, you're deepening the impact that the mantra has on you. And that's what you want to do, right? If you read something quickly and then you go about your business, right? Well, you probably weren't impacted very deeply based on what you read. But if you read something and then you consider it, and then you really feel the truth of whatever it is that you read. And this is true for anything. This is true for if you're reading a book. You're reading something, and then if you pause and you consider, you reflect on what it is that you learned, what it is that you read, right? You're deepening the impact. This goes back to when I talk about repetition, right? When you learn something the first time, you're exposed to it, but it only gives you so much time to consider it. When you learn it and you hear it again, and then you hear it again, and then you hear it again, right, in different ways and at different times over an extended period of time, you tend to deepen your understanding, and you have ahas that you don't have necessarily the first time you learn something or you hear something, but you'll have those ahas as you go deeper. So when it comes to integrating the miracle equation into your silence practice, I encourage you, right, to simply utilize, don't reinvent the wheel. Pull your affirmation out, your mantra out, recite it, and then sit with it in silence and let it go deeper. The second practice of Miracle Morning are affirmations. Now, affirmations, this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite topic. I touched on these, or I addressed these in the Miracle Equation book. I'll remind you of, I'm going to use the same format here. Problem, solution, right? 2 problems with affirmations, the way that they've been taught, at least the way I've learned them over decades by self-help pioneers and gurus. Number 1, we're taught to lie to ourselves. Maybe it's not phrased that way, but meaning we're taught to use I am statements. I am blank. And the blank is supposed to be whatever you want to be. I am happy. I am healthy. I am thin. I am wealthy. The problem is we're taught to make these statements, whether they are currently true or not, and then we're taught to repeat them over and over and over with the intention, the outcome, hopefully to kind of trick yourself through repetition into believing what you're affirming, even though it may not be true right now. Now, can that work? It can, but the truth will always prevail. Lying to yourself is never the best strategy. So if you say, I am healthy, but you're really not, then you're piling liar on top of your health challenges. If you say, I am happy, but you're really going through a depression right now, and you wake up feeling miserable every day, and you have a lot of negative thoughts, and you're unhappy. Well, then if you say I am unhappy, but you're not, you don't genuinely believe that about yourself, well, again, you're now piling liar on top of your emotional well-being and struggles with that and your unhappiness. If you say I am wealthy, but you're not wealthy, right? That's usually the example I use. Right? Then you're going to tell yourself I am wealthy, and then your subconscious goes, no, you're not. You're broke. What are you talking about? You're lying. Who are you kidding, right? And I think this is why a lot of people have trouble with affirmations. They're affirming something that's not true, and they're constantly fighting with themselves, going, "I am happy," and then they're like, "No, you're not." Meaning you tell yourself, "No, you're not," and you're fighting. You're telling your own. I'm doing that. First with affirmations is that lying to yourself is never the optimum strategy. And we're going to talk about a solution to that in a second. The second problem with affirmations is that we're taught to use this passive, flowery language. The purpose of it makes us feel good in the moment, but it is detrimental to our improving ourselves or our success. So what I mean by that is, my favorite example is, there's a very popular affirmation that's been taught over the years, over decades, and it's something like this. I am a money magnet. Money flows to me effortlessly and in abundance. That's not how money works, right? You ask anybody who's very successful financially, they'll probably tell you, no, I wasn't a magnet. Money didn't flow to me effortlessly out of thin air. In fact, quite the opposite. I had to work really hard. I had to put forth extraordinary effort over an extended period of time. I had to create value that would help other people solve a problem they had or achieve an aspiration that they had that was important to them. And through creating that value, I was then compensated for that value. You follow, right? So affirming that money is flowing to you, or that your life is going to magically improve, or that vision board on the wall is enough. That's all you need is the vision board. And you just affirm, I'm going to sit here and wait and pray and hope until those beautiful pictures of that house that I want, and that car that I want, and that man that I want, or that woman that I want, and that family that I want, I'm just going to wait till they magically show up. I'm going to keep affirming. The reason I think some people like those affirmations is if you're struggling in an area and you affirm that things are going to get better, well, that naturally makes you feel good, right? Just like if you were struggling in an area and you were complaining to a friend and they affirmed, hey, look, things are going to get better. You just have to have faith. You just have to believe. You just have to focus on manifesting what you want, right? And I'm not anti-manifesting, but I believe that the best way to manifest is through extraordinary effort, not through passive wishing, wanting, hoping, visualizing, etc. Right? So when it comes to affirmations, here are a few steps to counteract the problems with affirmations as we've been taught. So the first problem is lying to yourself isn't optimum. So don't affirm that you are something that you are not. Don't affirm that you have something that you do not yet have. Affirm what you will do. Affirm what you are committed to having. Very different. So instead of saying, I am healthy, say, I am committed to making the changes that will make me healthy. Instead of saying, I am thin, if you're overweight, say, I am committed, or I will modify my diet and exercise to become thin or to become healthy, and of course, getting specifics even better, to lose 20 pounds. Right? So affirm not what you want, not that things are magically going to change. Affirm what you are committed to. Affirm what you will do, what you will accomplish, what you will achieve. Don't say, I am wealthy. Say, I am committed to becoming wealthy. The second strategy is to get clear and affirm why it's deeply meaningful to you. So in the case of the miracle equation, you are working towards your mission. Your affirmation, right? You've got the 4 steps in the miracle equation book. So you've hopefully many of you have already created these steps. If you haven't, right, that second step is that you've got to get clear on what is the deeply meaningful why that you're willing to work on this mission. The what is rarely enough to get us out of bed in the morning without a deeply meaningful why. And you may have heard me share this example before that, when I was 20, I started a job in sales and my mentor was a millionaire. And I thought, wow, and he was only 23. And I thought, I want to be a millionaire. That's amazing. So I set a goal to be a millionaire by the time I was 25. Turned 25, wasn't even close to a millionaire. Didn't even have a tenth of that in my net worth, if you will, right? So I wasn't even 100,000, let alone a millionaire. And then, but I thought, oh gosh, all right, I'm going to reset the goal to 30. But I still didn't have a deeply meaningful why. I just want to be a millionaire because it was cool and it'd be nice to have financial freedom and be able to buy cool stuff, whatever. But it wasn't like really deeply meaningful. It was just superficial and it was fun. It was a fun idea. So what happened was 5 years, 30, and I wasn't a millionaire. I still didn't have even a tenth of that in the bank, right? And I went, what am I doing wrong? Well, luckily, it kind of worked out the timing. I had a daughter. I had my first child. My wife and I had our first baby daughter, Sophie, when I was 30. And then when I was setting my goals for that following year, I got really clear for the first time in my life on a deeply meaningful why related to the financial goals that I had. And now my goal was, I am committed to, I don't even know if it was becoming a millionaire. I don't remember. I think it was becoming a millionaire, but that's just a round number that, right? It's just pop culture, I think, makes that an appealing number. Ooh, be a millionaire. And so for me, though, I had a deeply meaningful why now. I thought, I am committed to becoming financially or wealthy, a millionaire, so that I can provide financial security and freedom for my wife and my daughter and for me, for our family. And 5 years later, I had achieved the goal. It wasn't until I had a deeply meaningful why that that meant more to me than the resistance that might have held me back, than the fears, than the self-doubt, all of the things that hold us back from achieving what we want in our life. Well, not simply, because this isn't it, but you must have a deeply meaningful why that you're willing not necessarily to die for, but that you're willing to do whatever it takes in terms of overcoming all of those obstacles, those fears, that self-doubt, the laziness, the excuses, all the things that can throw you off track, that can hold you back. You've got to have that deeply meaningful why. That becomes your leverage. That becomes when you're like, I don't feel like doing the thing I need to do to get me where I want to go. So for me, if I didn't feel like doing the thing that would grow my business, grow my income, if or even just when it was like, I really want to buy this thing, but I know I don't need it, I would always fall back on that deeply meaningful why. And I went, wait a minute, this isn't just about me. I have to go do this thing that I don't feel like doing. I got to go to work. I got to get up early. I got to, make these extra calls. I got to do whatever it takes because I am committed to providing financial security and financial freedom for the people who I love more than anyone in the world, my wife and daughter at that time. My son wasn't born yet. And they are counting on me. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes within my morals and integrity, of course, to provide for them what they're counting on me providing for them and what I committed to provide for them. And it was once I had that deeply meaningful why that's what got me every time I felt like not doing the thing. That's what got me to do it. So I would encourage you to identify what is your deeply meaningful why. And in terms of your mission, right, you're going to affirm every day what you're committed to, what your mission is that you are committed to. So step one is your mission that you are committed to. So you're not phrasing it as if it's going to happen, because it won't happen automatically. It will only happen if you follow the rest of the steps in the affirmation. Step 2, the deeply meaningful why. And step 3, and I'll just give you 3 steps because you can kind of combine the last 2 steps. It's which activities are you committed to doing that will ensure you move toward your goal? And then step kind of 3.5, you could say, because they're very related, is when will you do those activities? Right? So what are the activities that you must do and when will you do those activities? And so now when you use this formula for affirmations, when you affirm that you are absolutely committed to maintaining unwavering faith and putting forth extraordinary effort to achieve your mission, and sorry, I left that part out, incorporating the unwavering faith and the extraordinary effort into your commitment. So step 1, affirming what you're committed to, make sure you affirm the unwavering faith and the extraordinary effort. And again, I've seen many of you posting your version of this in the Miracle Equation Miracle Mavens Facebook group. So it's been great to see your specific examples of how you're doing this. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group or haven't gone in and see what everybody else is doing, and please share your own examples around the affirmations, the mantra, etc. And then the second step, your deeply meaningful why. The third step, which activities will ensure your success? That's your process. And then step 3.5 or step 4, if you will, is the activities, the timing. When are you committed to doing those things? And when you affirm those 4 components, all you have to do now is live those 4 components. Live in alignment with your affirmations. And by reciting your affirmations each morning during your miracle morning, you are reinforcing your commitment. You're reminding yourself of your deeply meaningful why, and you're reinforcing and recommitting and re-identifying the activities that you are committed to, your process, and when you're going to execute those activities to ensure that you reach your goal. And as I explained affirmations that way, I am hoping that you see why I am so passionate about affirmations, because when you utilize them as a tool in a become one powerful leverage, points for you to stay committed over an extended period of time to what you are affirming. The third component that we're going to cover today, and I'm actually excited about this because I'm going to share a bunch of new insights that I've never shared before, and that is visualization. I've said for a long time, visualization has always been my weakest of the savers. And because it was my weakest of the savers, I have been focusing in the last few months on making it the strongest of my savers. Now, I'd still say affirmations is probably my strongest. It's the one I resonate most with. But visualization is now like creeping up to be one of my favorite savers. And it was always I used to not even do it for a long time. I mean, I did it in the beginning, and then I got off track and I was like, yeah, I don't need to visualize. And now I'm back on track. And let me explain why that is. And first and foremost, we will start with the problem with visualization as many people understand it, as it has been taught over the years, and as many people practice it. The problem with visualization as it has been taught over the years is we are taught to visualize our ideal outcome. And if you ever saw the documentary The Secret, which has been seen by, I think, over 10 million people, I'm not sure, but it's millions and millions and millions of people. The Secret became very popular, and it also has gotten a lot of criticism. It became popular because it was opening people up to the law of attraction. It was opening people up to this idea of visualization, and specifically the action step that was given in that film. The primary action step was to create a vision board. The problem is that people were taught to basically cut out pictures, and I'm sure many of you have a vision board like this, and I'm not bashing the vision board itself. You'll understand once I explain this. But you were taught to cut out, if you want to have a mansion, or you want to have a nice house or whatever, go find a house that, either the exact house you want or close to it, the type of house, cut it out and put it up on your vision board and look at it every day and imagine living in that house every day. But the movie kind of stopped at that. It said, okay, so you got your vision board with your house and the car you want and the family you want. And, if you want to spend time in nature, have a picture of nature. If you want to be a marathon runner, have a picture of a marathon runner, and on and on and on, right? So you got this vision board with all these pictures. And the idea was that you just look at it each day and that you're activating some magic manifestation. However, many people got really discouraged. You may have seen I recently did a video with JP Sears called, if you go to YouTube and type in JP Sears Law of Attraction Secrets, and it's a funny video, but it's also if you don't know who JP Sears is, he is a spiritual comedian. So he teaches spiritual lessons through comedy. And basically the video, he kind of makes fun of a vision board. Basically says, I've got a vision board and I've been staring at it for 15 years and nothing has come true on it. And I'm so frustrated. I don't know why. And, and I go in and ask him, what do you do? Are you putting forth extraordinary effort to reach these goals? And he goes, no, but I have great pictures on my vision board. And it's like, well, that's not enough. You can't just cut out pictures and wait. And here's the point. We're taught to visualize the end result. And there's value in that, which I'll get to the value in a second. But first, the problem with that is that it actually is counterproductive to us achieving the things that we're visualizing. And here's what I mean. If you visualize yourself achieving a thing, what happens is you see it over and over and over and over and over again, and you trick yourself into thinking that it's going to happen, because you've seen it so many times that it feels like it's a foregone conclusion. And what happens is you actually you can remove your drive to do what's necessary to make that vision a reality, because you've seen it so many times in your mind's eye that you think it's just going to happen. I'll give you the best example that I have in my own personal life. When I was training for an ultra marathon, I hated running. So I visualized every day. Now, the problem with visualizing the end result is if you would just see yourself crossing the finish line of the marathon, you'd start to trick your subconscious into thinking that, yeah, I'm going to do it. It's as good as done. And then you lose that healthy fear, because there is value to every emotion, including fear. Fear, you don't want to dwell on fear and live in fear, but it's a healthy thing to make you aware that, hey, if I don't do the things that are necessary to get to where I want to go in my life, or this one goal or this mission, I'm not going to get there. There should be a healthy sense of fear that if I don't do what's necessary, I'm not going to get where I want to go. And visualizing the marathon, I did visualize crossing the finish line because of this reason. The value in that is when you see something over and over and over that currently it may be so far off. It may be so outside your comfort zone. It may be so far beyond what you've accomplished in your past that when you see it over and over, the value is you do start to believe it. So if the idea of like running a marathon was, like I could never do that. So every day you start to visualize it. And let me give you a little bonus tip. For me, the more specific your visualization is, the better. Like Tiger Woods and who just won the Masters, I've heard him talk about visualization. And he says that he actually goes to the course that he's going to be playing in the tournament, and he walks the entire course, and he stands at each hole, and he visualizes hitting a perfect drive off the tee. And he visualizes it over and over and over and over again. The reason is you want to, the purpose of visualization is to condition your mind, your body, and your spirit to perform optimally before you actually have to perform, so that when you do have to perform, you've already gone there. You've already simulated an optimal performance. And then now you just have to step into that vision that you created and the emotions that it generated. And this is going to make sense. We're going to unpack this a little more here over the next few minutes. So, but Tiger Woods would visualize each thing. So I encourage you, here's the bonus tip. I actually Googled a picture of the finish line of the Atlantic City Marathon, the exact marathon and the exact finish line that I would be crossing. Or at that time, I didn't know if I'd be crossing it. It was a goal. It was a big, scary, audacious goal that I had set. But I visualized on my vision board the exact finish line of the Atlantic City Marathon. I saw it. I closed my eyes. I felt it. I felt what it would feel like to cross that finish line. And as I did that every day, over and over and over again, the value of visualizing your ideal outcome is I started to believe it. I started to think, wow, this is actually going to happen. However, this is the most important part of visualization and the training I'm giving you on visualization right now. And that is that you spend a small amount of time, relatively small, on visualizing your ideal outcome coming true for the purpose of you seeing it, because seeing is believing. If you see something over and over, you increase your belief that it's possible, and specifically it's possible for you. However, the majority of your visualization time needs to be spent visualizing the activity that you must do that will get you to your ideal outcome. So, for example, let's say you spend 5 minutes visualizing during your miracle morning. 1 minute should be spent visualizing your mission coming to fruition. See the moment that you actually achieve that mission, whatever your mission is. If it's losing 20 pounds, picture yourself 20 pounds thinner, standing in front of the mirror or standing on the scale and celebrating. You did it. You reached the goal. Your mission is now your reality. Imagine that, visualize that, but just for a minute. And then spend the next 4 minutes, the majority of your visualization, and the number's arbitrary. You can do 2 minutes and 3. You might visualize for 10 minutes, whatever. The point is, roughly 20% of your visualization time should be on your ideal outcome, and 80% of your visualization time should be visualizing the process that is, so you engaged in your process and doing it in a way where you actually visualize yourself engaged in the process, and you imagine, you feel the emotions that you would feel if you were optimally executing that process. Here's an example. When I was training for that marathon, I hated running. I still hate running. I hated running though. So the idea of running each day, and very often, the idea of engaging in your process might not be appealing. It might be scary. It might be uncomfortable. It might make you nervous. Any emotion other than like, I'm excited to engage in my process is not optimal, because it's gonna create resistance. It's gonna create a buffer between you and that process, and you often can avoid it. You might not do it because you're not emotionally compelled. Visualization of the process. So I would see in the morning, my mirror, I'd visualize the process. And here's what it would look like, exactly what I would see. I had an alarm on my phone that would go off every morning at, I think it was 6 or 7 a.m. Let's say it was 6 a.m. I don't remember the exact time. It's been 10 years. But it would go off and it would say, go, train for marathon, go for a run, whatever it said. And I would visualize the timer on my phone going off. I would literally see a movie in my mind of picking up my phone, seeing the timer, seeing that it said 6 a.m., turning it off, getting up, walking into my bedroom, through my bedroom, into my closet, grabbing my running shoes off the shelf, grabbing my clothes, getting dressed, walking back through my house. This is what I'm teaching you, is create a movie of seeing yourself engaging in your process. And here's the most important part of this. When I would see myself heading out the front door from my house to the pavement, right down my driveway onto the sidewalk, I would see myself smiling. And most importantly, I would generate the feelings, right? So I didn't leave it up to how I just felt. I would literally, sometimes I would ask myself, what do I need to feel to enjoy that run? What do I need to focus on? What do I need to think about? Like if you're having trouble getting yourself in an optimal emotional state, just ask yourself questions that lead you to that state. What would I need to think about to feel better, to feel excited to get on the phone, jump on the treadmill, read this book, to go out with my wife, to talk to my husband, to, play with my kids, whatever your thing is, whatever your mission is, whatever your process is. Imagine yourself doing it and smiling and engaging in it with confidence, with purpose, feeling happy about it. So I'd see myself each morning going out the front door, excited to run. And that was the optimum emotional state that I needed to perform optimally, right? And forget performing optimally, just to get my butt off my couch and out the front door, which sometimes that's what we need. Our standard for performing optimally can be like, I just need to do it at this point. Like once I just get myself doing the thing consistently each day, engaging in my process, I'll worry about getting really good at it. Like right now, I just need to get over the hump of resistance, of inertia that's holding me back. And so visualization is about conditioning your optimum emotional state for engaging in your process that will ensure you get where you want to go. And so what would happen is when the alarm went off at 7 a.m. on my phone, I'd look at it and I had anchored in and reconditioned all of those emotions and the actual process itself. So I would automatically, without even thinking, I would grab my phone, I would get up, I would walk through my bedroom to my closet, grab my running clothes, get dressed, walk back through the living room, head out the front door, and guess what would happen every time I hit the front door without even really prompting it? I would just start smiling, and I would all of a sudden be flooded with these positive emotions. And these positive emotions, I actually enjoyed the run. And I didn't have to use visualization to do that for very long, because what happened after doing that for a couple of weeks is I reconditioned my emotional attachment or emotional response to the act of running, something that I had hated to do my entire life. Right? I actually stopped hating it. So that's an important distinction, because I know I said I hated running then, I hate running now. I hated running then, but I got to where I actually looked forward to running for the 6 months that I trained for the marathon. I ran 4 or 5 days a week, I think. And I would run like up to 20 miles plus a week. And sometimes I would run 20 miles at a time when I was training for this 50-mile race. And so doing that, the visualization process made it so the thing that I needed to do, right? Your process is required because every result is preceded by a process. And so your process is what produces the results that you want. So the idea is, how do you get yourself to engage in the process? Well, the Miracle Morning and visualization specifically is designed for you to create that optimal emotional state. That's the purpose of visualization. And think about it. The world's greatest athletes, Olympians, world champions, they utilize visualization to get themselves into an optimum state to perform optimally, right? Before they actually ever go to practice or get in the game. They've already gone there in their mind, in their body, in their spirit. And when it's game time, and game time for you just might mean going into work, going into the office, right? Jumping on the treadmill, heading into the kitchen, need to properly. And so this is a daily practice that you can do that. And so for me, by the way, here's a little bonus tip, and then we'll go into the next practice. And the reason, by the way, I'm spending a lot of time on affirmations and visualization. These are, I believe, the two most intentional practices for you to, well, any goal that you have, but specifically for this training, for your miracle equation, for unwavering faith, extraordinary effort, right? Putting yourself in this peak state each day and using affirmations to direct your focus on what you're committed to, why it's deeply meaningful, and what you have to do, right? These are practices that will accelerate your becoming a miracle maven and accelerate your ability to develop the qualities and characteristics to achieve your mission. And visualization, I was going to give one other tip. What was that? I forgot. It'll come to me later in the training, I'm sure, and I'll come back to it if I remember it. So now the E is for exercise, and I'm not going to go very deep into this because it's pretty self-explanatory. I will just say this, right? Exercise is obviously, you know what that is. A couple tips. Number one is, even if you're thinking, I already exercise in the afternoon, I exercise on my lunch break, I go to the gym in the evening after work, whatever, so like I don't need to do morning exercise, I would encourage you to reconsider that, because the benefits of exercise are felt immediately and for many, many, many hours after you finish the exercise. To not give yourself the gift of those benefits throughout the morning and throughout the day, it to me is it's a tragedy, if you will, right? Not to be dramatic, but if you only work out in the evening, you're missing out on the increased energy and clarity and the endorphins that are released, the serotonin that's pumping through your system after you exercise. So if you want to feel better and you want to think clearer and you want more discipline, more energy, and the ability to make better decisions, you should always exercise as early in the morning or as early in the day as possible. And it doesn't need to be a full-blown go to the gym for an hour or even a half an hour or even go to the gym at all. It can be as short as 60 seconds, or it could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'll give you two of my favorite options for short exercise in the morning. Number one is when I have almost no time to exercise, I do 60 seconds of either jumping jacks or high knees running in place. High knees running in place, I like it because it's a great ab workout. It's a great cardio workout. And so, I like high knees running in place. I used to do jumping jacks instead. But 60 seconds will take your level of energy and clarity and motivation from like a 3 to a 7 very quickly. And then last but not least, the 7-minute workout, my favorite app for a short, full body, fantastic workout that uses no weights. All you need is a wall. All you need is a wall and a floor. If you have a wall and a floor, you can do the 7-minute workout. And if you don't have a wall, you could lean up against a tree or something. You need something to lean up against for wall sits or tree sits, if you will. And then you need a floor to do push-ups and crunches and that sort of thing. But the 7-minute workout app is great. So I encourage you, just make sure you're exercising first thing in the morning in as little as a minute or roughly 7. And if you want to go to the gym or something, that's fine too, or go for a longer run. But just some form of exercise first thing in the morning will put you in a better state to optimize your performance throughout the day. The R is for reading. And again, not needing a lot of detail on this, you know what reading is. The only tip that I'll give you is for those of you that don't read with a pencil or a pen, to mark up your books, I highly encourage you to do that. You should turn every book into a long-term resource that you can come back to. If you don't underline the key lessons that you're getting from the book and circle the key words or phrases, write notes in the margin in terms of you underline a paragraph in the margin, write a little note on why you underline that. How do you want to utilize that paragraph in the future? Is it an idea for a speech that you're giving? Is it something that you want to integrate into your marriage? Right? Whatever it is, write that in the margin. And the point is, every book that you read, you should be able to go back. If you're having a trouble in your marriage or something, right? You go grab a marriage book that you remember was so valuable that you read it last year, but you don't remember all the details. Pull it off the shelf, and you should be able to go through a book that might have taken you a month to read and read the entire thing in like an hour, because you're just reading your underlines, you're reading the margins, right? You're going through the entire book. You're recapturing, probably 95% of the value of that book, because it's not about implementing everything. It's implementing the things that you need to implement. And so by utilizing tip for you how to leverage reading. And then last but not least is scribing, the final practice of the miracle morning. And scribing is a fancy way of saying writing or journaling. And I'll tell you how I journal. There's infinite ways to journal. You can do free writing where you just write on a blank piece of paper, set a timer for 10 minutes or 30 minutes, you just write to your heart's content. That's one way to journal. My favorite way to journal, I utilize something called the 5-minute journal. It is both an app on the phone, which I use the app because I always have my phone with me, or you can go to 5minutejournal.com and get the hardcover version of it. But the 5-minute journal, here's the simplest part of it that I will share with you. I every day I journal two things. Number one, what are 3 things I'm grateful for? And it doesn't have to always be 3. It could be just one thing I'm grateful for. It might be 5 one day, but just what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for? And that puts me in a state of realizing that we already have, it's a state of abundance. It's a state of, wow, my life's already great. I'm not lacking. I already have an amazing life. I'm grateful for this and for that and for my this and my that and my that, right? Whatever you're grateful for, starting yourself by putting yourself in a positive, grateful, abundant frame of mind. That's the first part of my scribing. The second part is, what are the top 1 to 3, typically 1 to 3. Again, this isn't in stone. You might have 4 or 5 one day, but typically for me, it's what are the top 1 to 3 activities that I will commit to following through with today that will make the biggest impact in my life or my business. I'll say that again. What are the top 1 to 3 activities that I will commit to following through with today that will provide the biggest impact on my life and or my business? And the reason for that is, it's the essence of the book, The One Thing, or the essence of having a mission versus just a bunch of goals. When you get clear on priority, either one priority or your top few priorities, which it's a whole other conversation, but the word priority technically isn't even supposed to be plural. It's supposed to be one priority, right? But for sake of our conversation, let's say you've got your top 1 to 3 priorities for the day. The point is this: we usually have a lot of things on our to-do list, or a lot of things that we could do, a lot of different areas where we could invest our energy. And human nature is to take the path of least resistance. That is human nature. As cavemen and cavewomen, right? We weren't trying to achieve, we weren't trying to climb a corporate ladder, we weren't trying to start a business. We were trying to find food and shelter and warmth and survive. And once we had the bare necessities, food, shelter, and warmth, we were done. We didn't go be ambitious beyond that, right? So it's really it's our modern culture that has conditioned us to be ambitious. Nothing wrong with that, but you have to realize that human nature is to take the path of least resistance and do the least amount that we have to do to survive. So to go beyond that, if you look at your to-do list, what happens is, okay, I've got 10 things on the to-do list. We tend to gravitate toward the things that are the easiest or have the least significant consequences. When what we must do is go, okay, yeah, there's 10 things on this list. I'm not going to do the things that have the least significant consequences. I'm going to look at what are the top 1 to 3 things on my list that I must do first today that will have the biggest impact on me, on my life, and on my mission, right? Of course, related to the miracle equation. So get really clear. Those are the 6 practices of the miracle morning. That is your daily practice for personal development. You can do all of those. You can every day. You could do most of them every day. You could do some of them every day, right? Most people, if you're new to the miracle morning or if you fell off it, right, committing to all 3 of them for a 30-day period, I mean, not all 3, all 6 of them, all 6 of the savers for a 30-day period is ideal, because only by giving it your all, playing full out for all 6 of the practices, are you able to really understand the value of each one, and then you can tweak them along the way. So if you're not doing the miracle morning now, that is your assignment, is to integrate the savers into your daily practice. And if you're not waking up early at all for a morning ritual, wake up 30 minutes earlier and just do at least one of the savers. So that's really the assignment. The base assignment for everybody is to wake up at least 30 minutes earlier. If you already do the miracle morning, you don't need to get up earlier. You don't waking up and do now listening, and you're like, well, okay, Hal, I'm already a Miracle Morning practitioner, which is most of you, right? So let me speak to you. I'm a Miracle Morning practitioner. I do the savers, or at least I do some of them, or I do them sometimes. I would encourage you to up level your Miracle Morning practice. And I would encourage you to integrate the tips from today to up level your practice, and the tips from today and the strategies to better integrate the miracle equation into your Miracle Morning. All right, we are at just over an hour right now. And I promised you guys and gals that I would do a recap of the first couple of weeks. And then we don't need much of a recap of today because we just went over it. But if I find it, there's a fit, I will recap today. So here's a recap of the first couple of weeks. Week 1 was about deciding on your first mission for the month of May, aka Miracle May, as we're calling it. We talked about be, do, have. That most people get this backwards. They think that they have to have something, more time, more money, more knowledge, more skills. They think they have to have something more than they have now so that we can then do the things that we need to do so we can then be happy, be successful, be wealthy, etc. This is how most people's paradigm is arranged. They think we have to have, then we be, and then we do, but they get it backwards. We have to first become the person that we need to be in terms of the qualities, the characteristics, the mindset, the knowledge, the skills. That's what the Miracle Morning does for you. Then you do the things in terms of the habits, the behaviors, the process. And then, and only then, can you really have the things that you want to have. More success, more money, more freedom, more time, happiness, etc. So be, then do, then have. The second thing we talked about is the real purpose of a goal, and that is for you to become the person that you need to be to create everything else that you want for life. And then finally, your assignment for week 1 was to set your goals in the areas of your life that are most important: your health, your finances, your personal development, your recreation or your fun, your free time, and then to get clear of all of your goals. What's the mission? What's the goal, the single goal that will have the most significant impact on both who you are as a person and the quality of your life? And then week 2, last week, we talked about the power of the process. I gave you the strategies, which a lot of you said was very valuable. That was half hours of power. Setting yourself up for the minimum amount of time to execute a significant part of your process that will move you forward, and then giving yourself a short-term reward. This is kind of a little hack, a little trick on how to keep yourself motivated, where you work for 30 to 60 minutes, you work, get your thing done, and then reward yourself, and then dive back into your process, and then reward yourself, and then dive back into your process. And what it does is it's conditioning you to associate pleasure with your process because you keep being rewarded every 30 to 60 minutes that you follow through. Okay, so there's a purpose for the half-hour power strategy. And then last but not least, I talked about how to get yourself to take action even when you don't feel like it, which is to act your way into feeling, to do something that moves you in the direction of your goals, that moves in the direction of even just your getting your process going. And that initial baby step gives you the motivation that you need to keep moving forward. And the example I always give is, right, if you want to get in great shape, you don't need to overthink it. Just get into the car every day at a designated time and have a gym bag packed and drive to the gym. And if all you do is get in the car and drive to the gym with your gym bag in the trunk, when you drive there, you've acted your way into feeling. Now you feel like going into the gym. Now you feel like getting dressed and working out, etc. But it starts with that baby action step. Take the first baby step to act your way into feeling. And last but not least, actually, week 2, I gave you 5 steps to maintaining extraordinary effort. Number 1, step 1, predetermine your process. Step 2, release any emotional attachment to your short-term results. Step 3, schedule your process. Step 4, safeguard your success with accountability. And the 5th step I gave you last week was to assess your results and adjust your process accordingly. And for week 3, we went over the savers, how to integrate the miracle equation into your Miracle Morning and specifically into your savers. And then, what was I going to say? I just drew a blank. The savers. I forgot what I was going to say. Anyway, all right. So let me, I'm going to hang on. If anybody wants to ask me questions, let me stay on now for questions. So as in I'm talking too fast the whole call, or, all right, Lisa said the session has been priceless. Thank you. Lisa, you are welcome. I'm so grateful to hear that. Quick question, from Vol, as a college student, I had difficulties figuring out my process and my half hour of power. Any help/example on designing a process half hour power for a college student? Yes. So what I would do is I would figure out your read. Here's one example. And everybody, please, if you're not a college student, don't tune out. Apply this lesson to your process. So here's what I would say, Vol. Let's say, for example, you've got homework and you've got to do reading, right? So read for 30 minutes. So this is the half hour of power strategy is you need to figure out how much work you can get done reasonably in a half an hour. Okay. So the idea is you look at how much reading could you do in a half an hour, Vol, right? And maybe you go, oh, in 30 minutes, I read on average, about 20 pages every 30 minutes. So the idea is that you would read those 20, maybe now you back it to 15 pages. You read 15 pages as fast as you can. Now, granted, and this wasn't one criticism that someone said, I want to address this, that they said, well, yeah, but if you just go as fast as you can and it's quantity over quality, what's the point? It's not about quantity over quality, right? The example I gave when I taught half hour power strategy was I would make my sales calls to prospects to set up appointments as fast as I could. It doesn't mean that when I got them on the phone that I talked really fast. I mean, I talk fast, let's be honest. I'm sure I talk fast, but it didn't mean that I sped through the call. I still did my best, but it's just that I was focused on, not getting distracted from my calls. So when I say as fast as possible, I don't really mean, and I should clarify that, right? That it's not that you're not doing quality work. It's that when I say as fast as you can, I mean that you're doing the work and staying on pace and not getting distracted, right? So in the past, in a half an hour, if I didn't have a specific number of calls I was going to make, I would make a call and then I would check my phone, right? So this is the opposite of as fast as I can. And maybe I need to think of a better terminology than as fast as I can. But the point was to make a call. And then when I was done, I just made another call instead of getting distracted. So if you're reading, when I say read as fast as you can, Vol, I don't mean that you're literally speed reading and you're not paying attention to what you're learning. You want to retain it, of course, circle, underline, but I mean reading without getting distracted and doing something else. So that, Vol, can be your process. If you're doing homework, determine how much homework you can reasonably get done in 30 minutes. And you might decide that 30 minutes is too often to reward yourself. Maybe 60 minutes. Maybe you're doing hours of power. But the point is, you want to identify what your process is, engage in it for the 30-minute period, and then give yourself a short, simple reward. 5 minute, basically it's a 5-minute break. That's a real simple way to think of half hours of power. 30 minutes of work, a 5-minute break. 30 minutes of work, a 5-minute break, right? So that's really what it boils down to. And maybe you do 60 minutes of work with a 10-minute break because maybe 30 minutes isn't enough for you to stay focused and really dive deep. Maybe you need a little bit longer. Again, the number's arbitrary. You might do 2 hours of power or 3 hours of power where you go, Hal, actually, I need 3 hours of focused attention. Then I'll give myself a 30-minute reward, a 30-minute break. Remember, the idea is you're conditioning yourself to stay focused on the activity and engaged in your process. All right, I'm scrolling back up. Wow, a lot of comments came in since then. Eileen said, I love you, forget what you were going to say. That happens to me all the time. Yeah, you have brain damage. And I'll tell you, when I got brain damage, it's like a little bonus lesson. When I had brain damage, my dream was to be a professional keynote speaker. And I thought, I had a lot of fear. I thought, how am I going to be a professional speaker when I literally forget what I'm talking about all the time? And back then it was way worse than it is now. And then I forgot what I was talking about in a speech. And I got all of a sudden, oh God, my biggest fear is now reality. I don't know where I was at or what I was talking about. And I was looking at my notes and I couldn't remember. And I said, you guys, I have brain damage. I forgot what I was talking about. And people started shouting it out. And all of a sudden, somebody remembered, like the third or fourth person that shouted something out. I go, oh yeah, thank you. And the whole audience, I felt us all breathe a sigh of relief. And I realized I can give up being perfect or trying to be perfect or come off as perfect and instead just be authentic. And that's a lesson, you guys. Give up being perfect, or the thought that you think you need to appear perfect to everybody, and just be authentic, right? Just be authentic. So, guys, I've got 15 more minutes. I'm going to stay on and keep answering questions if that's okay with you guys. I don't have anything after this, so or not for a while. I just have my lunch break. All right, so Kristen said last bit of recap was too fast. I see, got it. So, well, and I would say, if you go back to listen to all into the member portal, Chris, if you haven't already, I have like the 5 steps, for example, that I went through kind of fast. That is actually in the membership portal under the video. Those 5 steps I wrote out for you. Those are listed out there. So there's a breakdown, like a short recap in each one of the modules in the portal that are in writing, not just the video. And of course, you could always fast forward it into the video and kind of, watch the recap there as well. Chrissy Gower said, thank you, Hal. Chrissy, you're welcome. Armand Anwar said, thank you. You're welcome as well. Matt said, what's your most prized Michael Jordan memorabilia? Yes, I'm a huge fan of Michael Jordan. I don't have a lot of I'm not a memorabilia kind of guy, but I do have a poster. I actually mentioned this in the Miracle Equation book. I've had a poster on my wall for a long time that says it's from Michael Jordan. It's his picture and a quote. It says how many shots he's missed, how many games he's lost, all his failures. And he said, I have failed over and over and over again, and that is why I succeed. And I have that on it used to be on my wall. Now it's on my son's wall, and he sees that every day. And I always refer to that poster whenever he's getting discouraged or we're practicing basketball or whatever. And, at 6 years old, he already has that quote memorized, which is great. Ryan said, do you think you could put some show notes in the portal like you do for the podcast that would list out some of the resources and books that you mentioned? Yes, absolutely. And as I mentioned, in fact, if you could, Ryan, look at the portal and look at the notes I have under module 1, under the video number 1, module 1 and module 2, and let me know. Leave a comment under those. I'll go check it. Tag me in the comment if you can. I'm not sure if you can, but let me know if those notes that I have are sufficient, or if there's anything specific that you want me to add to that. And I'm happy to do so. Paul E. Miller said, this was a session I really needed. Thanks, Hal. Paul, you are welcome. Leanne said, needed the visualization clarification so badly. Thank you. You're welcome, Leanne. The techie admin said, how do you decide on your mission? I'm still not sure what to go with. All right. So great question. I'm sure you are not the only one with that question. So set your goals. So so let's back up. You look at roughly 8 areas of your life. And I'm trying to think of if we have these 8 areas listed anywhere. So it's health is one area. Fitness is one area, and those are really separate, right? Because you could eat healthy, but you could not exercise. So you've got to do both, right? Health, fitness, relationships, and that can be broken into subcategories. You could have friendships. You could have relationships with your family, your friends, your significant other, right? You could even have professional relationships, right? So that really is its own category, but there are subcategories underneath it of relationships with different types of people in your life. There's your finances. That's a category. And you can jot these down as I'm going through them, right? Your career or your business. So if you have your own business, it'd be business. If you have a career, it'd be career. Personal development is typically an area, right? So imagine each of these areas, you're going to do a few things. Number 1, you're going to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in each area. 1 to 10 in each area, right? So that's in the Miracle Morning, that would be the level 10 life assessment, where you go, okay, in each of these areas on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I now? In my relationship with my significant other, how do I feel? Are we great? Are we an 8? Or are we on the verge of divorce? We're like a 1 right now, right? Be honest, where are you in each area? So that's the first step, is you look at these areas. And I have another one is contribution, right? Giving back is typically an area. And then your emotional well-being is typically an area, right? So those are 8 key areas of your life. And you look at these areas and you go, on a scale of 1 to 10, where am I now? How am I feeling about my life now? Am I a 1, a 10, somewhere in between in each of these areas? And by the way, I would encourage you, never, ever do I rate myself a 10, because that says I don't have any room to improve. At the best, I'm a 9 at the best. Usually I'm an 8 at the best. If something's going really well, I like 8, because I still want to feel like I want to still have that space to ask myself, how could this be better? How could I improve this? Could I be a better husband? Could I be a better father? Right? So you identify the areas of your life that matter to you, right? I just gave you 8. And then you get clear on where you are on a scale of 1 to 10 in each area, and then you ask yourself, what's the single goal in each area? And again, it could be more than one goal, but usually it's look at what's the one goal in each area that would meet or so goals. And then the way you figure out your mission is you go, of all of these goals, and this is a hard exercise because often there's going to be a few of those goals, maybe more than a few, that are really important to you and they feel equally important. So I always say that you have to get real. You have to ask yourself, if I was only allowed to achieve one, if you could only achieve one, what would that be? Right? That's one way to identify. If I want to achieve one, I want to achieve only bad, but I would pick this one. However, the way that I talk about in the book to figuring out your mission isn't just about which one of these is the only one I would, if I could only achieve one, which would I achieve? That's one way to do it. But I think a better way to do it is which one of these goals will enable me to become a miracle maven, right? In other words, to develop the qualities and characteristics that I need to achieve all of my other goals. That's how you figure out your mission. I'll say it again. Which of these goals, out of the 8 or so that I've set, which of these goals, by pursuing it and giving it everything I have, would enable me to develop the qualities and the characteristics that would allow me to achieve all of my other goals? So in 2005, my goal to double my sales was the most challenging goal. That's usually the criteria. It's like, which goal is the scariest for you? Which is the most difficult for you? But it also might be, which is the most beneficial? Maybe it's the one that, hey, if I achieve this goal, it'll help me achieve all my other goals because, for example, let's say you had a financial goal. And if I achieve the financial goal, that will allow me to take more time off. Like, let's say if I get my business running on autopilot and get the income coming in and build a team that can help run a lot of these things that I have to run, if I focus on that one goal, that would give me more freedom in terms of financial freedom and in terms of time freedom. And now I could apply the capital that I've earned, the money that I've earned, and the time that I have available into all of my other goals. I could take that money and I could buy a personal trainer. I could take that time and go to the gym. So you see, now you've identified this one goal that's a business goal or an income goal or a career goal. And by achieving that goal, not only do you develop the qualities and characteristics of a goal achiever, of a miracle maven, but you're able to leverage the benefits of achieving that goal to now achieve all of your other goals. That makes sense? So that's how you figure out your mission. And again, your mission is not the mission for the rest of your life. This is your mission for, the numbers are somewhat arbitrary. This might be only your mission for May, and then you shift gears. It might be your mission for 2019, for the rest of this year, whatever year this is that you're watching this. It might be your mission for the next 10 years, right? It might be your mission for the next 10 years, but it actually isn't your mission for the next 10 years. Meaning you set it, but then a year from now, or a month from now, or tomorrow, you realize, wait, I actually realized that I have a different mission that is more important, or that's more relevant, or that's more urgent. So you guys, it's important to live your life with flexibility. I used to be so rigid, or I used to think there's only one right way to do things. And if you've ever been to like the Best Year Ever Blueprint, or I know some of you are in our Quantum Leap Mastermind. I run a mastermind, which is an in-person mastermind. We have retreats in person. John Berghoff and I run the live event together, the Best Year Ever Blueprint event together, and we run the mastermind together. And we often will sit up on stage and somebody will ask, hey, what's your best tip for how I can achieve a goal or whatever, right? And, I will give my strategy of how I would do it. And then John will often, go, hey, well, I actually don't do things like Hal at all. I do things completely differently. And we always teach the audience, there's almost always more than one way, and usually a lot of different ways to achieve an outcome, right? There's not just one way. Great example. The miracle equation. That's not the only way to achieve a goal, right? It's one strategy, it's one paradigm, it's one approach to achieving a goal, right? Or to achieving your goals. But there are hundreds of books written on improving yourself, improving your life, achieving your goals, right? And different strokes for different folks, different strategies work for different people. Yeah, but for me, it's about finding one that works and sticking to one for an extended period of time. And then once you've mastered one, like obviously you guys are all in this miracle equation training, you've read book or you're reading the book, commit to the miracle equation, the 2 decisions. And next week, by the way, we are diving into unwavering faith. How do you establish it? And more importantly, that's the easy part, is establishing it. How do you maintain it? How do you make unwavering faith a permanent fixture in your subconscious mind and your conscious thinking, so that it's just how you show up? You're already comments. I've read your survey answers. Many of you have talked about how you're now the unwavering faith that you established, but was really, fear for a lot of you. You said it was higher on your, in your thinking and your consciousness than faith. But you've said that through the miracle mantra each and every day and doing your miracle equation 30-day challenge, you've told me that like faith is becoming just how you're thinking now, more and more and more and more and more. And the idea is, what holds us back from achieving what we want, one of the main factors is fear. And it shows its head in different ways. We're afraid of failing. We're afraid of success. And what that might mean, the implications of achieving more success. We're afraid of what other people think about us. We're afraid of what they're going to think about us if we fail. We're afraid of maybe, that we're not doing it right? There's so many different fears that we deal with. And the idea, the objective is to replace fear as our default way of thinking, which often we're not even conscious of. Fear shows up in being nervous. It shows up in uncertainty. It shows up in a lack of clarity. Fear shows up for us in so many different ways. There are many different faces of fear. However, in fact, yesterday I interviewed Ruth Soukup, who wrote the book that's coming out next month, Do It Scared. She's an expert in fear, and she talked about there's 7 different fear archetypes that we all adhere to. And you have to listen to the podcast in a couple of weeks. I'm not going to go into a training on that. But anyway, the point is, fear is our single biggest deterrent in any way that it shows up. It doesn't always show up as just blatant fear. However, it's what holds us back. And so next week on next week's training, we're going to dive deep into unwavering faith. How do you establish it? How do you maintain it? How do you establish enlightened entitlement? How do you leverage? What's the difference between, we're going to talk about the difference between mantras and affirmation. That's a question that some of you had on the evaluation form. What's the difference between an affirmation and a mantra? Do I need both? Are they different? Are they the same thing, right? So we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. In the meantime, I will email the replay out for the training today within 24 hours. I will also email you the link to your evaluation form. And if you have specific questions for our future trainings, remember, we have next week, training 4 is going to be unwavering faith. Training 5, I'm not telling you what it's about yet. I like keeping these. Trust me, there's a lot of thought behind letting you know what all the trainings are going to be, or letting you know week by week. Part of that is that they're being adjusted as in fact, this week was going to be unwavering faith. That was my original plan. And then there were so many questions in the evaluation form on how do I integrate, like I'm doing the miracle morning, I'm doing the miracle equation, the 30-day challenge. How do I integrate them together? Is it different? Is it the same? Yada, yada, yada. So I wanted to focus on that today. Next week will be unwavering faith, but then your 6th and final call is I'm going to read through, I'm already reading through all the evaluation forms, copying and pasting all of your questions. And at the end, I'm going to cover all of the most common questions that you've had up until this point and over the next few weeks of training based on what you put in your evaluation form. So click on the link in the email that I send you. Even if you were on the live training today, post any thoughts, questions, feedback that you have. Miracle Equation, Miracle Mavens, I love you. I appreciate you. That is it for this week's training. Hope you got a lot of value, and I will see you in the Facebook group. I will see you in the membership portal, and I'll see you next week. Take care.